Greetings and salutations again, my fellow Lumineers, me boy JDZ, and we're back at it again with another episode of the Procast. That's right, the best world-class cards podcast on the planet. And joining me today, as always, is going to be Thiago, world-renowned Lumineer, guiding us through the Wild's unknown territory, and the Digital Arcana Challenge North American champion and two-time DLC champion, Mr. Edmund Chu. Greetings, gentlemen. How are you? How was your week? It's been a long time. You guys ready to get wild? Thiago, update.
Yep. Grinding infinity. Grinding. Millions and millions of games. Maybe billions.
Millions and billions of games coming in from Thiago as you are getting active in Infinity. What about you, Mr. Chu? Are you Infinity World as well?
Yeah.
Just
watching.
Give me
grind infinite. Let's get it.
Your grind. The grind don't stop, huh? Okay, so let's talk about it. I kind of would like to start the show there. That's kind of where the bulk of the conversation of today's episode is going to be. A lot of people are interested in the Infinity format. If you're just tuning in, you don't know what happened in Digital Arcana. We had our first rotation a few sets back, and we are gearing up to our next rotation going into the following set. Attack of the Vine is going to lead us to our second rotation. But in the Infinity format, it allows you to play with all of the Digital Arcana decks, all the Digital Arcana cards we've had this entire time, and now our next few DLCs that we have will all be following the Infinity format, and all of the side events, or excuse me, the third-party events will also be leading into Infinity. So I kind of want to start there, and let's just get the biggest rundown of your guys' thoughts on Infinity overall, now that you had some opportunities and some times to really immerse yourselves in that format.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, like kind of revisiting a lot of these old strategies and also seeing how these new cards fit. We had a taste of this meta back in set 8 where it was like the last set before rotation. It was the biggest the card pool's ever been, and so a lot of the strategies are like pretty similar to the format back then. That was the format that the World Championship was played under. So we have a lot of good information about how that format ends up looking. But since then, there have been four new sets, once Wild's Unknown releases today. So there'll be 50% bigger card pool. A lot of the power level of these cards is not quite the same as it was at the start of the game. So the old meta is still pretty indicative of what things look like right now, but ultimately there's a lot of new things to explore and sort of having to relearn a lot of these lines and kind of see how these new tools kind of fit into it. There's some really game warping ones in the new sets, cards like Snowfort, cards like Mulan. So it's ultimately, yeah, the learning process is like the most fun for me. So being able to kind of dive in and get all of that sorted has been really fun. But I do think there's some problems with the format. Like currently right now, the on the play versus on the draw win rates are bigger. There's a bigger disparity in them than I've ever seen in any game ever. So
Oh
like
wow.
people are posting their on the play versus on the draw win rates in our group chats, and it's like 88% on the play and 53% on the draw, and there's like a 35 percent difference in your play draw win rate. So there's a couple things that there's a lot to explore still. So maybe that's not going to end up being the case once the format gets more refined. But right now, that to me has been a little bit concerning.
Mm. What about you, Ed? I mean, do you agree? I mean, is this something that you've noticed as
Mhm.
well?
Yeah. I mean, I've played like through set one, right? From set one all the way until now. And I guess still a lot of the strategies from before are still kind of popular right now, like Amber Steel, Ruby Sapphire, like those type of things, and then Diablo based decks. I think those are probably still like the pillars of the format. I think one kind of major difference from kind of the old days, I guess it's still kind of similar, but like cards like Genie, Elsa kind of kept Diablo style decks down. And now with the introduction of Dumbo in set 10, or what's set 10, set 9? Yeah, set 9. I
So
think it
nine.
made it so, yeah, set 9. It made this, made Diablo a lot, not a lot weaker, but like there's definitely more vulnerabilities in playing the deck now. And I think it's a lot more polarizing to play these type of decks because now it's like if you play against decks that have Diablo answers, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. And then if you're against decks that don't, then you'll be okay. But right now, I think the four, like kind of level one, in my opinion, is still people trying to explore these like Diablo based decks. And I think a lot of people are actually catching up, seeing that, okay, Diablo is definitely a problem. How do I build my deck around being able to solve against a Diablo? And I think that's kind of like where we're at.
Mm. That's interesting you say that because I've been dabbling a little bit, but not nearly as competitive because I'm kind of waiting. I'm holding back to kind of let the metagame kind of solve and resolve itself onto what I think it could potentially be. Like I can theorize. Obviously, you guys are much better players. You have to really try to do everything you can to stay ahead, to put yourself in an advantageous position to go do well in these tournaments. But I like to kind of sit back and kind of wait for it to kind of resolve itself, and then I can play like maybe some counter picks or kind of off meta stuff. How do you just talk about that? I want to know more about the approach to this thing, like getting to the point of finding a deck that is a deck that you think could be viable or a great pick in such a wide open field, because you now have all the old decks that were good in the earlier sets, set 1 through 4, and now you have these other decks that came along, like Blurple now seems to be a lot stronger. Where do you start, and what's that process of picking the deck that you think can be the one?
I think you just need to sort of evaluate what are the most powerful things you can do in the format. So we have the context of this from before, plus um, seeing what's new. So it's like you think back to set 8, it's like what were the most powerful things? There's like these green Diablo decks. Okay, that's going to be on the list of things we're going to need to check. These red-blue decks that are either using Sapphire Coil and Sisu with the Maurice's Workshop as a draw engine, or they're playing a little bit more of like a tempo style, like what we saw DKP have a lot of success with, where they're playing the McDuck Manor and the Maui Half Sharks. So that's going to be one of the things that we're going to test. And then what's the most like aggressive strategy we can make? Okay, so this is what an Amber Steel aggressive deck would look like. What if we make it as aggressive as possible? Okay, the Amber Steel songs decks were also good. So let's see what the A Whole New World decks looks like. And you're just like kind of building out this list of like all the things you need to try. And then you have to try all of them. And then sometimes you'll play against them. And then that gives you some idea of the power level, and where now you have to like see what are the new things that weren't out in set 8. Okay, well, people are playing the Snowfort aggro deck and they're doing well. Cards like Tramp 7 are cards that since that last meta in set 8, we've seen really take over the meta, and it's like kind of a strong effect, like because it can cheat a bunch of ink. So that's going to be something we're going to try. How do we build like a dogs deck in Infinity? Cards like Akud, this card cheats ink. And in Infinity, you're much more capable of singing it early because you have cards like the spell that banishes an item to come in for 3, and then she can sing 3-cost songs as early as turn 2. If you shift the Diablo on turn 2, it can sing immediately. If you play Cinderella on turn 1, it can sing on turn 2. So you're kind of just building out this list of all these things you need to try, and then you just keep iterating on it. When you play against these decks, you build some idea, and then you're just trying to build and build and build on your knowledge base, and then trying to make the best decision you can with the limited amount of time and resources you have before the first event.
Dang, dude. That seems like it. So the short answer is just play infinite. Like that seems that's not the answer I'm looking for. I need a shortcut, man. What's the secret? What's the secret sauce, dude?
All right, shortcut. Are you ready?
No, I'm kidding.
So, I think there is like some shortcut.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of seen historically like how the meta has been warped. It's still kind of boiled down to like these type of archetypes. Like for example, like Pete, and then now the new like Keeper of the Ancient Ways, so whatever that song. The thing, no actions, no items.
Right.
I think those type of cards really like lock down a lot of these like action based decks, right? Like that's why if Amber Steel is popular, for example, like those type of decks play a lot of Pete in that card, and then stuff like green blue and like red blue actions, like those type of decks kind of get shut down by it, right? So if that type of deck becomes popular, then you have to look at your deck. It's like I'm very reliant on actions, and it's probably not going to be a good bring. And then there's obviously, like I said earlier, the Diablo based decks. If your deck doesn't have any answers to Diablo, you're going to be in trouble. And then if people start playing like red blue items very prevalently, it's like, okay, what are my answers to items? So I think that's basically, in my opinion, where the format is. It's like, how does your deck deal with items? What happens if you get shut down by actions? What are my answers to Diablo? And then obviously there's always going to be these like hyper aggro strategies, right? Like purple steel, amber steel, yellow purple, like those type of things. It's like, what's my answer to like turn 1 Daisy Duck or turn 1 Lilo, these type of cards. So I think those probably are the 4 pillars of the metagame right now. Just like, how does your deck deal with those? And usually the case is like you maybe can beat 2 or 3 and you lose to like 1 or 2. And I think that's totally acceptable because the meta is so wide, right? There's already 12 sets and there's so many different strategies you can go for. You just have to kind of pick the one that you think is going to be, best against the popular decks, and then probably just like roll with that.
Yeah, and you don't actually have to like play infinite games to solve all those things. A lot of them, it's just like most of it is you're thinking through it and like, oh,
gotcha.
When I played this deck back in the day, it had a rough matchup into this, and now I'm seeing people have also added this new card to the deck, which was already like a not great matchup for me, and this new card improves their matchup against me. So in this matchup, I'm probably going to struggle a little bit, and then, oh, I was playing this deck and it wasn't doing well against this other deck. Okay, so if it didn't do that well against this other deck, and then in my head, the way I'm theorizing it, I'm going to struggle into this deck that I struggled to before that improved against me now, then this is probably something I can like toss to the side for now, and it's probably not going to be one of the considerations super early on in the format. So a lot of it, I would say actually just the majority of it is like thought process based, where you just like kind of theorize things, and that's kind of how you narrow down to be able to like fit the time frame that you have.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I can see that too. So a lot of it is just like internal, like through discussions, you can kind of rule stuff out. You can take those kind of mental shortcuts, and you can kind of use your own experience to kind of help make these decks a little bit better. But I guess a lot of the average players can't do that kind of stuff, and that's kind of where I kind of find myself. But I ask you guys both though. Dortmund is coming up in a few weeks. There is going to be a ton of tournaments before that. I'm assuming both of you gentlemen are going to be going to Dortmund and playing out there. I'm trying to go to Dortmund and play myself. You know what I'm saying? If Dortmund were tomorrow, granted, this could totally change between now and then as the meta starts to solve and resolve itself. If Dortmund were tomorrow, what deck are you playing and why?
I think it's really hard. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me personally, like just looking at like the historical data, I think a lot of people like playing Amber Steel and Ruby Sapphire and Diablo based decks, right? So it's kind of like my deck that I would bring would probably be something that has some kind of answers to those cards. And I think one thing that I also thought about was like historical data could be important. Like I remember back then, Amber Steel used to always be Blurple, right? But then now there's like these new ward characters, like the Merryweather and the Scuttle, that completely flips that matchup. So it's kind of like you have to evaluate not just based on like the color pairings, but also like what kind of new inclusions there are to those like color combinations. So I think, for example, if people like to play Amber Steel, if you think about what their game plan is, it's like they like to sing songs and like have a lot of single target removal. If you just play a bunch of like ward characters and possibly characters with like Rush or whatever, like Monstro, then it would end up having a good matchup into them, right? So for me personally, if I saw a lot of Amber Steel, or that's kind of my prediction of where the game is kind of right now, I would probably bring a deck with like Ward and like Rush and stuff like that.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
I think in Dortmund, as you said, there's going to be tournaments before. I think I'm planning on going to the Enchanted Citrus Clash, which will be in a couple weeks. And I think it's 2 weeks before Dortmund or something. I think Ed might go as well. And so if you were saying like not everybody has access to like all of the experience that they can like lean back on to kind of make the decisions on their deck. Well, luckily there's going to be tournaments before, and you
Yeah.
can just copy the deck lists of people who are going to that. I think that that's going to be super common. I think those initial tournaments are going to really define where the meta is going to be because, yeah, as you said, people just don't have the time or experience to really look back and come up with like the best thing in such a short amount of time. So I think a lot of the decks are just going to be copied off those tournaments. Um, I don't know exactly what I would play. I have been trying really just everything, and it's kind of hard to get data because yeah, you're playing against people who yeah, aren't as experienced, or maybe they're
Hmm.
just playing their first games of Infinity, so it's like everything kind of looks good. But I would be inclined to play probably a Daisy Duck Rapunzel deck. I don't know what exactly that looks like, but I'm probably a bit more inclined to play an aggressive strategy right now in the format with how early it is and how unrefined the decks are. And I just think a card like Rapunzel solves a lot of the problems that these aggressive strategies have without like um, being able to kind of run them out of resources like some aggressive decks in the past have been able to. They just have so many tools now, and there's so many different ways that you could attack these aggressive strategies in standard formats. Like just you could. It's really important to eventually set up a clock and race them, and then cards like Rapunzel just punish you so hard for that because as soon as you start trying to quest with your guys, then they just like bump into your guy and Rapunzel heal their guy, draw a bunch of cards, and then they develop a bunch of cheap questers. So I don't know exactly what my deck would be, but I'd probably be playing some sort of Amber aggressive show.
Mm. Is there any merit to the Amber Amethyst deck in Infinity? I know some people were testing some things for the core constructed format, and I think with the limited amount of time that you have before these major events are coming up, it's probably not a lot of time to develop the core strategies. But is there any room for an Amber Amethyst, like a mid-range deck, using the Dale, using those Rapunzels, big willpower, something like that? Because Elsa with Dale seemed like something that's very problematic. Maybe that's a core mentality, but is there anything there for Infinity?
I know a lot of people have been experimenting with it. I think one of the big things that the deck gets in Infinity is that it gets access to Cinderella to sing a Cood, which is so powerful. But I think ultimately these cards like Dale and the kind of cards you want to play around him don't line up super well into the format where people are ramping into be prepared on turn 4 or 5, and they're playing Sisus and Brawls, and I just think
Yeah.
that the card kind of lends itself to like the slow board control-y game plan, which kind of struggles to pressure a lot of the super slow control decks. And so I think ultimately the deck is not quite there, but I have been seeing some people having some success with it. I think if you're playing cards like Cinderella and Grandmother Willow, you kind of punish a lot of these popular decks like the Snowfort aggro deck that don't really deal with any of the characters on your board. So if you're able to have Cinderella give you a big tempo advantage by singing a Cood, or the Willow bringing out characters every single turn and the Willow never getting answered, then the Dale kind of giving you a lot of challenging power. Like that matchup has seemed pretty strong for decks like the Amber Amethyst, and then um, in my opinion, the green yellow Snowfort aggro deck is going to be really popular. So if you already have like that box checked, then you can kind of see how the deck could find a place in the meta. But as Ed said, there's kind of like these few pillars in the format, and it's really hard to find a deck that beats all of them, and you're probably going to have to give up a couple of the matchups. So if you do want to be better against decks like the Snowfort aggro deck, it's really going to cost you in matchups like your red-blue matchups.
Mm. Okay. And is he frozen? Oh, I thought it was frozen over there. I was looking at his face. He was just super locked in,
He's
dude.
always frozen, man.
He's locked in, dude. He's over here
And
switched on.
are you playing Dale mid range or what?
Me personally, probably not. I think these type of cards are like these like vanilla cards. I think they're too fair. You know what I mean? I think Infinity is a format where like everyone's trying to do the most unfair thing possible, right? Like wipe the board, discard your whole hand, like just go super aggressive. And I think people are too kind of accustomed to core. I think right now, like everyone's playing these like 3/3s for two, unironically, right? Like that's actually a good card in core, but if you play that in Infinity, it's probably not very good because everyone's trying to do that super unfair thing. So I think right now these type of like Dale cards or even cards that are like when you quest do something are just too slow, right?
Mm.
Anytime you play any of those cards, they get instantly removed or like your whole hand gets discarded and you're not even playing the same game as the other person. So I think right now the best thing to do is try to figure out what do you think is the most unfair thing to do, right? Like, are you trying to be like really, really fast, like, turn four kill with, Daisy Ducks style decks, or are you trying to discard your opponent's entire hand or wipe your opponent's card over and wipe your opponent's board over and over? I think that's probably the kind of stuff that you should be like investigating because that's what everyone else is doing, right? And if you're
Mm.
not on that like level, then you're gonna get, left behind.
Oh, so you just got to be super over the top broken is the plan.
I do think there is something to be said for a lot of the purple strategies. Like they all kind of fall in the same basket where they're all basically way more fair than every single other ink pair. But what you do is like you clean up the games where your opponent who's trying to do something unfair fumbles a little bit because those decks aren't as consistent as your Amethyst deck. And then they all tend to have pretty good matchups into the aggro decks, be it because of Fox and Crab and Peter Pan and these kind of tools tend to line up kind of well against at least the aggro decks people are playing right now. So there is a spot in the meta for them, I think, even though that they're like more fair. And it's kind of a thing to be said for all of the Amethyst pairs, green, purple, red, purple. Blurple is kind of in the same thing, though they have a little bit more ink because of their ramp spells. But yeah, I think they all kind of fall into the same basket, and I think that there will be like a significant part of the meta that's represented by them, and I think the decks are all like somewhat reasonable.
Man, we'll see. I think by the time this Infinity format ends, or by the time we get to the end of DLC in Indianapolis, I fully believe that everything we said here is going to be wrong. I think I'm so high on Infinity. I think the best deck has not been discovered yet. I think someone's going to get out there. I say this all the time. I'm the number one coper in all of Digital Arcana. So maybe that's just a me thing. But I think by the time DLC in Indianapolis ends, you hear me and you hear me good. I think there will be a new deck that comes out that no one was ready for, and someone from out in the Wildernot. Shout out to the Wildernot, by the way. We're getting active. Boom. Go to your pre-release box event today or whatever. Whenever you're watching this, it's probably over by the time you're seeing this. Shout out to the real ones who are out here watching this thing live. We're going to have a new deck coming on through, and you guys are going to absolutely rue the day that you guys didn't weren't there first. Am I coping, or am I?
No, probably.
I believe it. I think it's gonna be hard for something to be completely new, like unexplored, but I think it'll be something more like if there is something like that, it'll be like Zan in the CCS that he won in like maybe December, about 6 months ago or whatever, where he played the Mantra OTK combo. It's like a deck that had existed and everybody knew what it was or whatever, but we had never seen it like built in a way where it can actually like compete in the meta and be a strong contender. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a deck like that where it's like, oh yeah, we knew that this was a thing, but then somebody really understands how to build it and build it in a way that it like can actually attack the meta well. So I think it's like possible that we'll see something like that. Though I do think that we're not going to see some like red steel location deck or something like that. I don't think that that's going to be the innovation.
That's not going to be it. That's not the one. I don't know. What about that Ruby Emerald? Did we talk about that already? The Ruby Emerald OTK strategy that has been kind of getting kicked
so fragile, man.
Yeah,
it's too fragile.
There's a few problems with it. One is just that you kind of have to stake a shark or a Tigger like before you combo. And the other thing is just that the color combination doesn't have a lot of card draw, and so you kind of need to ink all the way to 5 or 6, as well as assemble these combo pieces while not having any card draw throughout the game. So it's like really hard to also interact with your opponent and while you're setting it up and whatnot. So in my opinion, it's not super well refined, but I think it's strong, and like when it does its game plan, it's really hard to stop, but it just is always going to struggle against the steel decks that can take out their characters very easily.
You know, card was was kind of good. Like back in the day, the OTK, were you around for like the Beast OTK, like the green steel one?
Yeah.
Where it's like you keep readying your guy in the location.
Bayou Beast.
Yeah, the Bayou OTK.
Why are we not doing that? Get it back. You could be doing that. That's what I'm saying.
Basically the
Give
same
me
as
the deck, Ed. This is what the people want to see, man. Give the people what they want, man. You guys got to give the people what they need. I need to see the Beast buy, and they have a new Bayou. The what's that card? It's not Castle Wyvern. It's another location that does a very similar effect. Oh my goodness.
I think it's Zootopia.
It's Zootopia. Yeah, Zootopia.
Zootopia. When you move into it, right? The Bayou is like every time you exert maybe or quest or something. So it actually
was it once per turn
with the
Zootopia. Let me look it up now.
You have to spend ink with the Zootopia, so it doesn't work for the infinite combo, right? But
Zootopia, you have to pay in. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. It won't work.
Yeah, I think the problem with that deck was always that your combo piece never had ward, right? Whereas in the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo Megara deck, you can at least develop the Megara and then on 8 ink play Shark and the Hercules and then kind of have it like warded throughout the entire thing. So it's a little bit more resilient, but I don't think it's very easy to get up to 8 ink in that deck while still being alive.
I mean, there's some like new cards that give ward, right, nowadays. But maybe it's like it doesn't line up as well, right? There's like that Goofy, the 1/4 one where it's like you quest, you give the guy ward or whatever.
Yeah, Diego used to play that online in set like 7 or 8. He would have that Goofy to give the guy ward, which sounded so like janky. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't line up well, but.
Hold up. The Bayou says whenever character quests while here, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. We're lit, okay? Zootopia says once during your turn, whenever you move a character here, you may draw a card and choose and discard a card. We're lit. You just move them there.
Yeah, but you have to pay an ink to move, right? It's not the.
You have to pay
you move them back and forth.
Move them from one to the other. We're lit. No, you still have to pay.
Yeah, it's not enough though. Yeah,
you're not. You're cooked.
You just need the Bayou only.
Yeah. We're cooked. All right. Coming in from the chat says Vader Llama says use luminary tunnels. Let's pull that up really quick before we got derailed here a little bit. I mean, if you had to guess really quick without looking, Thiago, guess what a luminary tunnels does. We'll see. And Ed, you got a second guess. Don't cheat. I saw you typing. No type.
Right now,
hands up. Hands up.
It sounds something like
did you already
get
cheat?
To move a guy for free from his description. But
all right. Thiago, if you had to guess, what does the luminary tunnels do? Without looking.
It moves the guy for your characters don't have to pay ink to move into locations.
All right, Ed, what's your thought? I can hear you typing. Stop cheating.
Wait, that's not me, bro. That's you.
I put my answer. Now I'm doing it.
Okay.
No, actually, I have no idea, bro.
All right, it says while you have a character here, this location gets +1 lore for each other location you have in play. Irrelevant. We're not even talking about that. And it has the focus. Does it say focus or locus? What does that say there? Locus?
Yeah.
Locus? While you have a character here, you may pay 1 less to play locations. How would that help us here?
Huh?
How does that help us? How does that help us? Vader Llama, we don't do that here. You're banned. It's a bad take.
We don't do that here, bro.
You're banned.
No,
you're out of here. No, I'm kidding.
You're good with me.
I'm kidding. You're not banned. All right, but yeah, that may not work. Ruby Steel locations, best deck in the format. You heard it here first on the World Class Cards Procast episode number 13. But gentlemen, we do have some deck lists that we can kind of go over to kind of talk about some of the ideas, get what you think. Some of the best strategies to play, but the first deck we have is going to be actually coming in from Core Constructed. So as we're all making this shift from core constructed to infinity because of the tournaments that are coming up. I still want to keep an eye on the core constructed events because set championships will be happening. There will be some smaller tournaments that are happening, and people still have an affinity for the core constructed format. So I just would like to take a little bit of time to do some meta analysis on just a quick idea of what you think the core constructed format will look like. Is it going to be more of the same of what we've already had? Will there be new strategies emerging? What are some of your overarching thoughts on core constructed as I have a copy of your iteration of the dog strategy coming into the set 12 meta?
Yeah, I think that the core is still going to matter. There's going to be CCQs that are played under core constructed, both in North America and in Europe. So people are going to need to know how to play core, and allegedly there might be one of the DLCs is going to be core that they haven't released any information on. So if that's the case,
which DLC?
Okay, it's all rumor, but allegedly the next Brazil one from someone I trust. But yeah, I had thought I had heard it previously that it was going to be Infinity, but this last week people said that they never actually officially announced it to be Infinity, so it might be core. But
Okay.
yeah, that's all alleged. But if that's the case, then all of the super competitive players are going to need to play core. But yeah, even if not, you still have to know it for your CCQs and set champs. So this deck is a version of dogs that's kind of utilizing some of the toys. It has the new Jessie, which gives you a benefit if you have 2 or more toys in play. You get to quest, and the card just naturally fits in the dog strategy pretty well because the reduction effect's super strong when you're pairing it with cards like Under the Sea. So you get to add some of these cheap toys like the RC car and Alien. Alien's really nice when you have Tramp 7 putting a bunch of other little aliens in your discard pile so that you're able to kind of loop them and take out some of the opponent's big characters. The RC car fits the deck really nicely because you're kind of just trying to play bodies and sit there until you play one of your big payoff cards like your Tramp 7, Under the Sea, or Chromacon. And so you didn't really want to quest with your 1-drops anyways that frequently in this deck, so the fact that you have to pay an ink to quest it's not really that big of a deal because you don't really want to quest them anyways. So you can kind of just develop this big body, and then he sits there for 3 or 4 turns until you make your big swing, and then he's able to quest alongside your board, and you don't really care that you have to pay an ink for it. And finally, I added the Buzz Lightyear card. This is kind of a new addition. I was playing like some other toys in the slots just to make sure I have enough to make sure my Jessie's drawing me cards every once in a while. But right now, I think the best card for that slot is just this Buzz Lightyear, which is just a vanilla 2-mana 3/3. I think this card's like pretty reasonable against decks like Purple Steel, which are sometimes trying to aggro you down with Christopher Robins and Pocahontases and Boost Genies. He kind of just brawls pretty well, and then you can return him with a Lady 5 and replay him, and he keeps fighting. Or in matchups like the Dogmere, you're kind of just able to curve a bunch of characters that have 3 or more attack in a row and then kind of make their Under the Seas pretty useless if you're playing like the RC car and then the Buzz and then Nani and then playing a lady and shifting a Lady 5 on top of it on that same turn. So I think overall like the stat line's pretty respectable, and then usually it's just an ink because it's like the 57th through 60th best card in your deck. So most of the time it's inked, but it has some utility that you're kind of able to play into. I do think that dogs is going to be like the best deck still. I don't know if it's particularly like necessarily going to have the toy package, or if in general it's just going to play with some of the older shells that we've seen. Like I think you could play last set's dogs with exactly 0 changes and it'd still be the best, if not one of the best decks in the format. But I basically think that none of the decks that improved with the new set got anything that's exactly pointed at beating dogs. So it's hard for me to imagine that dogs is not going to remain on top of the meta.
What do you think, Ed? What do you think about his deck, and what do you think about the meta? Best deck in the format? Dog still? Or you think Green Blue still takes it, no changes? Set 12. I know you haven't been doing a lot of core, but just thinking about it as a thought experiment. Get
Yeah.
your Socrates back.
Yeah, I mean, toys. Oh, I'm muted. No. Okay,
You're not
so I
muted.
think toys actually got a lot of new toys. I mean, it says new anyway, but I think the main 2 cards I'm kind of interested in are like the Jessie, and I guess this deck doesn't have it, but the 4-cost Woody. I think that card is pretty good. I think the thing about dogs, like the way I kind of envision playing it, I mean, it could be wrong, but I think the way I kind of envision it is like you still want to play bodies while kind of being resource plentiful in your hand, right? Because like the more bodies you can put in on the board and the more cards you can have in your hand, the tramp is going to be stronger, right? That you're going to be able to cycle more cards and get to keep more cards. And then once you're able to keep more cards, you get to do more like combo things, right? Like playing a bunch of tramps, like doing the Della under the sea thing. So me personally, I would probably try something like that. But I mean, overall, yeah, the deck is still very powerful, right? I think this Trap 7 card, like, is one of the kind of warping cards of core specifically, just because there's no effects that just let you cycle through so many cards of your deck, get to filter basically all the bad cards in your hand into actually usable ones. So I think until further notice, I would say like Lady Tramp, like these kind of decks are probably just going to be the best decks of the format.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about the Woody. I think it's why cards like the Snani have been so broken for dogs. I think the Snani was like really one of the big reasons why dogs got to the level that it got to in the last sets. But my problem with the Woody is that it kind of forces you to play so many of the toys for it to hit. Like, if you just kept all 16 of these toys and added Woody, first off, I don't even know what card you would cut, but if you did that, you're still missing more than a fifth of the time. And then if you're playing like a vanilla Woody and it's like completely whiffing that frequently, I think it's like pretty poor. And so you kind of have to lean even heavier into the toys. And I think that the dogs deck was just so dominant before that you really want to just like change as minimal stuff as possible. And so I think like if you end up having to cut like your, I don't know what you'd cut next, like the Bobbies or some of the Dellas or Chromacons or some of your like Ursula Deceiver Disruption, like to add like Woody and some more toys that are just like barely vanilla cards that kind of don't really do anything and are really just there to activate the synergies, you're kind of moving away from what makes the deck so powerful. And so that's kind of why I didn't include it. I just want to play as minimal of the toys thing as possible to really maximize Jesse.
Okay. Makes sense to me, but coming in from the chat, we have Vader Llama asks, Mickey Mouse 4-cost Amber Expedition Leader. Thoughts? It also works for Under the Sea. Did you try that guy out? Is he too weak? He's got that built-in scrump ability. He can't come and exert it. Is that something you've considered in this dog's deck, or he just doesn't fit?
I think if you're playing like a normal copy and pasted dogs deck from last sets, like you can put 2 copies of this card, and I think that might just be the best deck in the format. That is like, if I had to play a CCQ without like any testing, because I've only played, I don't know, a couple dozen games with this deck, I would most likely just submit whatever the deck that I was playing at the end of last format with 2 of those Mickey expedition leaders in the kind of like flex slot that I had. I had like 2 open slots remaining. I would probably just play the Mickey Mouse and call it a day. If you want to play like a more traditional version. But in the toy version, I don't think you have space for it. I think that you get more out of other cards in the slot when you have some of these built-in synergies. And so it would be in a more traditional version.
Wow. Shout out to the chat as well for the great question. Hopefully they learn something and they take that with them in their travels. You see what I did there? No?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it's an expedition. Yeah. I got you.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah.
That was good.
You can have it. You can take it. You don't even have to steal it. All right, but now core's done. We're gonna take a shift to the infinity right here, to the infinity and beyond. We got Thiago again. We're gonna go up. We got some other decks, a couple of infinity installments. This one is gonna be the Thiago Olaf Shark build. This deck looks super fun. It looks like you said, like a DKP special from the previous iterations. You still have that Grandma Tala. You have that Into the Unknown. Not Into the Unknown. Excuse me. How far will I go? Oh my goodness, Into the Unknown is crazy.
It's been a while. We'll give you that one. It's been a year almost. So.
I've been studying though. I just got to lock in, dude. I've been studying the Infinity card pool, just trying to get ready for DLC in Indianapolis. But I players mess up. You know, balls do get dropped sometimes. Ayo, no pause. But tell me about this one. Tell me about
Not at
this
work. No, I think this deck is, as you said, very similar to some of the Shark decks, some of the red-blue decks that we've seen before that are really maximizing Maui Half Shark and really the synergy between Be Prepared and McDuck Manor. And so the deck is kind of filled with all of these consistency tools to make sure that your game plan is really just playing these extremely powerful cards over and over again. So you have cards like Grandma Tala, Develop Your Brain, even Sail the Azurite Sea, Vision of the Future, How Far I'll Go. All of these are making sure that your entire game, all you're doing is casting sharks and B preps and manners and B preps and manners and sharks. And so you're kind of just digging through and only playing these impact cards one after another. And basically in the new set, this deck got 2 new cards. So I guess the Olaf's not exactly the new set, but since we've last seen the deck, we've added Firefly Swarm and Olaf. So this 9-cost Olaf costs 1 less for each action in your discard pile, which this deck has a very easy time doing because you're playing cards like Develop Your Brain and Sail the Azurite Sea and Vision, and it's also utilizing this brand new Firefly Swarm. This Firefly Swarm has been an excellent card so far in testing because basically you kind of used to play Brawl anyways in this deck just because it's really important to answer cards like Diablo when they come down, otherwise they take over the game, and even answering like some aggressive cards like Piglet is really important so you don't get run over. But you also get to use the second effect where if you put 2 or more cards in your discard pile this turn, then you get to banish any character. So it's essentially just a 3-cost Dragonfire if you're able to have this active. And this deck has such an easy time of activating it because you have these cards like Develop and Sail and Vision, but also you have Popsicle. And what Popsicle does is you play it and it kind of just sits around on your board. And then as soon as you want to use this Firefly Swarm, you just banish a Popsicle or 2. And then if you only banish 1 Popsicle, then you cast another card, like you sing How Far I'll Go or A Pirate's Life for free, or you play Develop Your Brain, and then you met the 2 cards entering your discard pile threshold to turn the Firefly Swarm on. So this card is just activated such an extremely high amount of the time in this deck, and it's like it's so efficiently statted that it's like such a huge addition. So that card's been really, really good. The Olaf is a card that makes its way in and out of the deck. I think it's makes a lot of sense with cards like Be Prepared. You kind of want to Be Prepared with other cards on the same turn because in Be Prepared, it's like both players lose all of the characters on their board, but then the opponent gets the first chance to refill the board. So it's like kind of supposed to be symmetrical, but your opponent gets the advantage where now they get to act first. But if you have cards like Olaf in your deck, then you're kind of able to play Be Prepared and then play an Olaf or 2 afterwards, and then you have the board advantage. And it's really difficult for them to ever come back from that. That's why locations kind of work well with Be Prepared because it kind of lets you break the symmetry of Be Prepared. It's also worth noting that the Olaf sings Be Prepared. So if you establish an Olaf on the board before you play Be Prepared, you can use Olaf to sing Be Prepared, and then you have all 8, 9, 10, 11 of your ink to develop big cards like your Maui Half Sharks and your Tamatoas and McDuck Manners. So that's been a really fun addition that people have been trying out, and yeah, it seems like it definitely can swing games on its own.
This deck looks cool. This deck looks awesome, man. But Brawl, I think, are you worried about the uninkableness of the Firefly Swarm over a card like Brawl? Because a lot of times you might just have to make that sacrifice and play it when you need it. But having that thing brick, and also speaking of bricks, is Sisu. Is that a card that you're considering maybe adding in this deck at some point in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this list is certainly not a final list. We're just a couple days into Infinity and there haven't been any tournaments. I do think that the uninkability is a consideration, but the deck naturally plays so few uninkables with just How Far I'll Go and Be Prepared that you do have some space to sort of play around with that slot. If you wanted to add Sisus, it would in fact be instead of some number of the Firefly Swarms. This deck doesn't play the Sapphire Coils. It doesn't maximize Sisu quite as much, but as we saw at the end of set 8, the Sisu was still strong in this kind of deck. It gives you some outs to the boards like where they have a bunch of Prince Johns and Muses without forcing the full symmetry that Be Prepared does, where you have to take out your own board. If you're able to develop a 3-quester with the Sisu and keep all your guys, like we know how strong that is. So yeah, it's definitely a consideration.
And another thing, the Scrooge's Counting House or the Casa Madrigal. Any thoughts on those locations being added to a strategy like this? I know there have been some discussion, and maybe Manor just stands above all as the premier location of the game. But those 2 new locations that came out in the last set and also in this set, have you ever thought about maybe adding more locations, less locations, or maybe doing like a split between McDuck Manor and some of those other ones?
Yeah, I think the Counting House isn't as good in this deck. I think it fits a little bit better in red purple, but I also don't think it's strong enough in that strategy. The Casa Madrigal is definitely worse than McDuck Manor. However, that doesn't mean you can't play it. It would just be like in addition. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of a question of how many of this effect you want to play. If I want to play 5, then I'll play 4 McDucks and a Casa Madrigal. If I want to play 6, then I'll play 2, right? So if you wanted to play more than 4 McDuck Manors, you can add some number of Casa Madrigals. I think in this deck, because you have so many dig spells, like the develops and visionses and how fars, you kind of see as many of the location as you want in a lot of cases. So that's why I've been comfortable with the number just staying at 4, but there's definitely some ways that the meta can shift. Like if we shift away from some of the aggressive decks that people are playing, and there's a lot more of these slow strategies, then the best way to attack them is by putting down multiple locations. So that would kind of have to happen for these decks to kind of warrant playing more locations.
Okay. And what thing about this deck? I know you played a little bit of this deck too last season as well. Towards the end of that, and before rotation, I know you were playing a little bit of this deck. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I played this deck in, was it Beijing, Suzhou? I think it was Suzhou, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I play RB. Yeah, I play RB Shark in Suzhou just like a couple months ago, and so it's still like relatively fresh in my head. So I think this deck is still obviously very good, just because a lot of decks just don't have answers to locations, right, and answers to Shark. And I think unless people specifically kind of build their deck around it, this deck is gonna like pop off, right? Because those things unanswered basically just win you the game immediately. I think Fire Storm is really good, and I think Sisu might come in, based on how the meta shakes out, right? If there's a lot of like Amber decks or like Emerald decks, those kind of just inherently die to Sisu. So if that's what ends up happening, then obviously you can cut some Firefly Swarm for the Sisus, and then obviously this Olaf slot is like kind of flexible. You can kind of put whatever tech cards you want. Like let's say for example, there's a lot of item decks or locations decks. Then you can play stuff like Hideaway, for example, to make it a lot better. So I think this deck is pretty flexible, and like the 52 cards that are not those cards are already kind of inherently powerful, and you can just kind of play this shell and probably do well with it.
Hold for a second. We're having some type of lag situation. I have to stop recording for a brief moment just to make sure that we're good, because we did kind of lag out a bit there, and I want to make sure that we are back. I was looking at. That's why I have issues with recording. Can you hear me now? You guys can hear me, right? I can hear you.
Hear you the entire time, but on Metafy it looks like it's lagged.
Okay, we're gonna see. We're gonna see if the lag can kind of. Let me sit here for a moment, because I don't know what caused it to do that, but I feel like we should be back. I don't know why it's doing that. I stopped the record. I did have to stop that recording because I think I might be able to fire back up now. We should be good. This is why I can't record, because it always causing some type of calamity with recording. All right, so I think are we lagging still? We're still lagging.
Hello.
Oh. All right,
we're still lagging a bit on Metafy.
All right, give it a sec, and let's see if it'll catch up, because I still have, clearly we've been talking this entire time. I don't know what is the disconnect there. Lagging. Okay, let's see. Okay, how about now? We'll start moving a little bit, because I can see you guys fine, and you can see me still in the control room.
On
right?
video, everything looks normal. Yeah, it's just on
Metafy,
it's lagging the stream a bit.
All right, so we'll hold here for a second. Let's see if it'll this is a Metafy situation, because clearly this would have stopped, I would assume, right? If we were the issue, but we're still going on.
Back on Metafy.
We're back on Metafy. All right.
Cool.
Discord is having major issues. Okay, we did notice that Discord is having some problems. That also might be affecting us as well. So we're good. I'm good. You're good. Okay, so
We're good.
All right, so Egg, please continue on. I'm so sorry for cutting you off there.
All good. Yeah, so the 52 cards are pretty solid already. Like the Olaf and the Firefly Swarm basically are the flexible kind of cards you can, play 4 uninkables that you think can fit the meta, and then maybe 4 uninkables or 4 uninkables and 4 inkables that you think will fit the meta. You can play like all kinds of stuff, right? If you want to deal with like items and locations, you play like hideaways, for example. And if you want to deal with like small characters, you can play Sisu. If there's a lot of Amber Steel, I've even played like Scar. That card has been like pretty good against like Amber Steel, for example, strategies, because you can even heal it with like Popsicle, for example, right? That was kind of a classic thing you could do, using B prep. If you face a lot of mirrors, you can play like Hades, Infernal Schemer to kind of deal with like opposing sharks. So the deck is pretty flexible. The 52 cards are already pretty strong, being able to kind of filter your deck pretty consistently. And you just have the, powerful like Maui Half Shark and McDuck Manor thing. So I think this deck will probably have some kind of form like this, like those 52 cards at least. And then based on how the meta kind of shakes up, you can kind of swap out those like 8 cards.
Okay. I like this deck. Yep. This deck's solid, man. This might be a deck
super flexible.
I might be playing a little bit of this myself, but of course I'll have to junk it up. We got another one coming in. This one is from Ed. This one is that Blurple a little bit, and this is it does have a lot of those set 1 cards, but this deck to me looks like a very, very new deck. I mean, this deck seems like you have a ton of cards in here that are pre-rotation, post-rotation. You have the Elsa Fifth Spirit, you have the Scuttle, you have the Elsa Fifth Spirit, you have that new Merryweather, you still have that Genie, Dumbo. Chapter 1 cards, I mean, you're really only playing the Hades, you got to Let It Go, you have the Friends on the Other Side. This strategy seems very new. And I know a lot of people lean on the old cards for their Infinity decks. Can you just talk about this one, and why did you make this deck this way, and what are some of the strengths and weaknesses of this one?
Okay, so pre-rotation, Blurple kind of towards the end of it had already kind of made some kind of splash onto the scene. I remember at Continentals, I played against R&B. He was playing like Blurple with kind of like a similar shell, right? Like being able to ramp into like a 4 cost has always been like kind of Sapphire's like primary thing to do, right? And I think the reason why this color pairing works so well is because basically a lot of the good cards that are 4 costs are in Amethyst, right? So right now we have, obviously back in the day we had Genie, right? That was kind of the premier card that kind of came out during, was it set 7 or set 8? I remember during Continentals, or was that even set 6? Maybe it was set 6. But during that time, Genie just came out and it was like really, really strong. Everyone's like, how do I play this Genie card? And Blurple is obviously the kind of forerunner, right? Because you're the person that gets to play Genie first, and then you can play Elsa, and then you do the thing, you tap down your opponent's Genie and you challenge it. And that has always been very powerful. And then I guess recently, we have Dumbo now, and that card has been really, really good because there's so many evasives in this deck, and if it goes unanswered, you basically get to draw like 3-4 cards. The other thing that Blurple is really known for is like the turn 1 Popsicle into Bell, and then you sing Friends on the other side. I think that's like the other thing that makes this card, like this deck, so powerful. Being able to play a 3/3 on turn 1 and then drawing 2 cards, really, really strong. So I think those are kind of like the pillars of the deck. And then obviously you run the ramp cards like Tipo, Sail, and then the Genie, Elsa, good Amethyst cards. And then I think the new additions are the Merryweather and the Scuttle. That was kind of like after the rotation. And I think this is specifically to fight like these steel decks. Historically speaking, Blurple has been, really bad into steel decks because sometimes you play a Genie and it just gets hit by like Along Came Zeus or even the new Thunderbolt, like all these kind of single target cards that can just basically erase what you've done like for that entire turn. And I think right now Merryweather and Scuttle kind of fits being able to answer that by like if you're on the draw, you ramp to a Merryweather. The steel deck actually just have no answer to it. And if you follow it by playing a Scuttle, then they actually just get locked. Obviously, another addition to Blurple is this Demona. I think this card is really, really good in this shell because it's basically like core, right? You're able to play like a turn 5 Demona, tap down your opponent's board, and you're able to like challenge it. I think with the new addition to the deck with the ward cards, it made Demona even better because now you kind of have some like for sure guaranteed attackers in the deck. and you still get to draw a bunch of cards. I think something else that was kind of added just recently is like this Junior Woodchuck guidebook. I think with Tamatoa being able to pick up 2 of these books, basically it's like Tamatoa draw 4 cards. I think even before in Blurple with just the popsicle, it was already strong enough. And then now with the addition of like this Junior Woodchuck guidebook, it made the deck even better at grinding than, any other deck in the game. So I think that, and then the Hades and the Let It Go, I mean, those are just good spot removal cards. I think specifically if people are playing stuff like Shark or just like kind of any like big body, those are kind of like guaranteed ways to remove it. Obviously, you can't remove ward characters, but besides that, you can basically deal with anything. And that's kind of like one of the strengths of Blurple, just being able to draw a lot of cards and just have the answers you need to your opponent's board. So I think based on that, I mean, it makes sense. It's very similar to Core, but you get this Tamatoa popsicle book package, and I think that makes it like one of the best like grind decks in the game.
I think that was really when the deck took off, was like we had the Bell come out in set 7 alongside Tamatoa, and then people are like, oh my gosh, these blue item decks are going to be so broken. And then they built blue steel and blue red, and those decks are super dominant. But then Fortisphere and Hiram got banned. And then once Fortisphere and Hiram got banned, you kind of got into this situation where the Popsicle was still in the game and Bell was still in the game, but no deck really utilized them super, super well together. And you kind of had to see like, oh, where's the meta going to go from this? And then this Blurple shell was like the best one at utilizing those 2 cards together specifically. There were versions of Blurple before the bans that were like playing Bell Popsicle and didn't have Hiram. And so when the ban came to Hiram, these cards naturally kind of fit together within the shell. And then when you get to pair it with cards like Friends on the Other Side and Tamatoa, then it became really, really strong. And so I think after the ban in set 7 is kind of when we started seeing the deck really come into form. It still had to go through a lot of iterations, like they were playing like the 1-cost Box followers and Magic Brooms and Madam and Foxes. And then it was only around set 8 where they really were able to get rid of that stuff. But as Ed said, the biggest problem with this deck was always the steal removal spells, because in Blurple, you're trying to ramp on turn 2, and then every single turn, you're trying to play a character that's ahead of the curve of the game. So you're playing a 4-cost character on turn 3, and a 5-cost character on turn 4, and a 6-cost character on turn 5, and you're always trying to stay 1 step ahead of your opponent because you sacrificed your turn 2, right? But then what would end up happening is you're playing against these Amber Steel decks, and while you're spending your entire turn developing a genie, they are spending their turn developing a 3-cost character and taking out your genie for free. And then the next turn, you're developing a 5-cost character, then they're developing a 4-cost character and singing a song to take your entire turn out for free. And so they get to keep developing while trading their removal spell for your character. And you're not doing anything besides developing that character. So they were creating these really big advantages, and this density of ward characters now solves that. So I think that's like the biggest reason as to why the deck is like theoretically a player in Infinity. Ultimately, I don't think that the deck's super strong in Infinity. I've been extremely underwhelmed by it. I've not struggled into it with really any deck that I'm playing. So to me, I'm kind of confused why people. It seemed like one of the most popular decks in the entire game. That's not been my experience, at least. I'm also not super convinced that it makes a ton of sense to play 4 Demonas and 4 Tamatoas with 4 Popsicles and 4 Guidebooks. I think that Tamatoa and Demona, first off, like decks really should not, like 8 6-drops is like so wonky for so many decks to play. Even if you're playing Sail and Tipo, I still think that that's like really heavy on your curve. And then I think that both of these cards work so polar opposite to each other, where Tamatoa wants you to build this huge hand by returning 2 items, and then you play the items and they draw more cards, and you're always keeping such a super full hand. And the Demona, you want to like vomit down your hand. And so you're kind of playing this like awkward thing where it's like, do I want to like start inking these draw spells, these draw items to like play out my Demona, or am I trying to like hold them so that they can draw me some more cards, and then eventually I get them back with Tamatoa? And so to me, those cards both costing the same amount on the curve and wanting to play so opposite, I feel like that's not going to be something that is in the very final versions of the deck. But this deck will always do powerful things, right? Like you're playing to board very strong, and it's really hard for people to deal with these ward characters. And then when you pair the ward characters with these exerting effects to make sure that the opponent can't just sit there and build their board super wide, cards like El Demona, then I think the resiliency of the ward characters really gets maximized. I have seen a lot of people playing cards like Cheshire Cat. I think that card works really well with El Demona in terms of always having damage on your guys, and then it's hard for your guys to get finished off because they have ward and evasive, and eventually you're kind of able to lock out some of the aggressive strategies. Like I think all of the purple decks kind of want to at least have a good matchup into the aggressive strategies, because you're certainly not going to have a good matchup into the super unfair decks. So that would be like something that I'd be interested in playing probably. But people love playing Blurple, and there's always going to be so much Blurple in these tournaments, and you need to find a way to kind of build your board through all of their interaction. So yeah, you're definitely going to need to be prepared for a deck like this.
Right on. Ed, so Thiago said your deck is trash and free, dude.
Trash.
Yeah.
Trash. Specifically your deck.
I think one thing is like on the sixing turn, I think you basically never play Demona or Tamatoa. I guess you can play it on the play sometimes, like if you're trying to do the ward thing, you just challenge them specifically on that turn. But I think most of the time your game plan is to do like a book plus like a 4-drop, and then you go into like Tamatoa, and then you pick up your book that you just popped with your popsicle. I think that's like probably the most common play pattern. I think the other thing about Demona and Tamatoa that I realized after playing this deck a bunch is that most of the time your Demona is similar to Dock of Steel. So most of the time you play out the rest of your hand first. Like you play your Tamatoas, you play all your books, play all your characters, and then eventually there will be a spot where it's like, oh, I'm out of cards in hand, let's play this Demona. And then what happens is usually you draw into another Demona, and you basically sit on this one Demona at all times, and you play the rest of your hand, and then you play Demona afterwards. So I think this deck always basically gets to like, if you're not, immediately dead to the aggro strategies, you get to like 14, 15, 16, 17 ink, and you can always basically play out your whole hand, leave Demona as the last card, similar to how we do it in Purple Steel, and then you play your dock at the end, and then now you're like, kind of cruising, just always cards in hand, always something to do.
Yeah, I agree that she's good when you have 15 ink. I just think against a lot of decks, you have like these 8/6 drops that you said you don't want to play on the 6 ink turn, and then the Demona is after you got through all your cards. But if you're having Tamatoa with 2 guidebooks and then recycling the 2 guidebooks, you're really not going to run out of cards in hand until like turn 12, and then like holding this Demona to draw you 2 more cards on turn 12. To me, doesn't seem worth it. And I think so much of Demona's power is exerting down your opponent's board, especially since a deck like this doesn't have board wipes. And so the fact that you're restricting when you have the ability to access that effect, to me, isn't like the most congruent, because yeah, I just want to play this card when I have a board lead, not when it's like turn 12 to draw 2 cards. It's like the board is even, I played Demona, and then the game's completely swung. Like I want to always have access to do something like that, as opposed to like, finally, once I got through my 12 draw effects, now I get to play my Demona as a draw effect on top of that. Like that's kind of my problem with it. I think you kind of give up a lot in that sense. But yeah, if both decks are going 45 cards deep into their deck, you definitely want an effect like that. That's just not how the format has been shaping up for me, at least. I think that you kind of want to. It doesn't take that much for this deck to be strong against the aggressive decks, is I guess how I see it. And so I feel like a version like this would really struggle into something like Amber Steel aggro, when I feel like it's not the most difficult to like pivot into making that a good matchup.
We got a little bit of pre there. So you guys tune in. Best of 5, Thiago versus Ed, coming up soon. We don't know the date yet. We're going to solve this
arm wrestle
on the field of combat, or the field of banishment, the field of questing. No, but seriously, I think to that point, I think both you guys make very valid points, and I love when there's a little bit of back and forth, when there's some disagreement in philosophies. And I think
that's how we do it before the tournament. It's like we make a list, and then we talk back and forth, and then if we still don't know where to go, then we'll try it out, and then test it against specific things, see how it is, and that's how we ended up like landing on our lists for tournaments and stuff. So I mean, that's just like behind the curtain of what like a discussion would actually like look like for us. preparing for it.
You gotta shoot it full of holes, dude. It's better to make sure you're sending a good product in instead of taking a chance and playing something that's a little weaker than it could be. But I do agree though. I think people have been playing Sapphire Amethyst since rotation. It has been one of the premier decks since Fabled, and I think going into this format, people still feel very comfortable with the play style of this deck. And it does seem like this deck can just draw infinite. Once it starts rolling, it seems like it just will not stop drawing cards. You're going to always have a plan. You're going to always have a backup plan. You're going to have a third exit to kind of go through there. So the deck seems good, and I do think that people will be playing a strategy like this in the DLC for sure. All right.
Yeah.
We got another contribution coming in from Two-Time. Here we go. Talk to him. And we're back on this blue. We got to get you off the blue-green stuff, man. I'm sick of it.
Oh, man. Not more blue-green.
I'm sick of the blue-green. I'm sick.
Man.
I'm tired, Grandpa. Well, that's just too dang bad. Oh, no, I'm kidding. This deck ain't
too bad.
Okay, honestly, this deck is basically literally exactly the same. But you get to play Grandma Tala, right? I think Grandma Tala, Tomato, and Popsicle. So I think one of the main weaknesses of green blue, I mean, I guess is only in core, right? I guess we played it a little bit in the pre-rotation, but it was not that popular. I think the main reason was, like people would see, oh, you're a Clarabelle deck. Let me just ink my whole hand so you can't draw any cards off of it. And it was actually a big problem for like green blue of core. But now that we have this Tomato Popsicle kind of engine, even if your opponent inks their whole hand, you still have access to like gain additional cards through this Tomato Popsicle engine. And I think it still complements it well because the deck plays Develop Your Brain, Sail, Visions, like these type of cards that let you like draw more cards, dig through your deck. It lets you basically deterministically find this Tomato Popsicle. I think the other thing is this Donald Duck like versus Grammatala. I know some people still ran Donald Duck back in the day, but I think this Grammatala just being a one-sided like look for the card that you need immediately has been pretty good, because sometimes it's like you just need to dig a couple more cards to find the exact piece you're missing, right? Like the classic Clarabelle ramp, and then you can play Grandma, look for the exact thing you need. Your Welcome, you need Clarabelle. You can look for the exact piece that you need, and then on the following turn you can do the Shift Your Welcome. Like it just adds even more consistency to the deck, which was kind of lacking before. So I think these kind of three cards kind of patch some of the holes that the deck had before. So I think it's still might be a good contender. I remember historically speaking, the deck has still been kind of weak to steel in general, just because of Pete and then now Keeper of the Ancient Ways kind of stop these like action-based decks from really popping off. But I can see a world where it's like, if Amber Steel is not very popular and you play a lot of like, Ruby Amethyst or like Ruby Sapphire, like this deck actually does very well into those like style of decks. So I think depending on how the kind of meta shakes up, I think this is still kind of like a real deck that, has some of their problems like resolved with like, Grandma, Tomato, Popsicle.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this blue-green deck, obviously, because like I'm a normal sane person. So, but I think that, yeah, we obviously know the power of these kind of effects, and sometimes you would just get into these situations where you would rush to your Prince Philip and wipe their board, and then you get your Prince Philip answered by something like a Hades, and then you're like, well, now what? I just used my entire hand to ramp up to this and clear their board, and then they dealt with my Prince Philip. I have no pressure. Where do I go from here? And then the Tamatoa kind of like fills that in, where he's like, okay, now I get back some Popsicles, and then this is going to draw me into another board wipe, or it's going to draw me into Clarabelle. You're welcome. Start redrawing cards. My main concern would be that the aggressive decks in Infinity are much faster than they are in Core, and the deck was already struggling with some of these like Christopher Robin, Pocahontas, Genie Boost starts, and those type of things are much more prevalent in Infinity. Not that exact line, but like the decks that have that game plan. And that was what the deck could struggle with a lot. And a big thing is the addition of Pete. In Core, Pete is legal, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to play Pete in most of these strategies just because of the way that the format is shaped. But in Infinity, pretty much every single Steel deck's playing 4 copies of Pete, and sometimes they're also playing copies of Keep the Ancient Ways on top of that. And so if they have an aggressive start into something like Pete to delay your combo one turn, your board wipe combo, that can be really, really devastating. So I do think that, as Ed said, like if you're playing into a meta where it's like some of these slower strategies, a deck like this could be strong. But right now, everywhere I look, it's just aggressive decks everywhere. So that would be my main concern with bringing out the green blue is like running into some aggressive strategies with Pete in them.
Okay,
Like keep it in your back pocket, you know.
yeah,
Kind of deck.
this
Yeah.
is a late game. Maybe take it to DLC in Indianapolis. I think it's as the meta slows down a little bit, as they often do. They start very fast, and then once people get their wits about them, it kind of slows down. It becomes more mid range to a control style, and I think this deck might be good for that. And you can also change it to fit those things. But Ed, I'm gonna need you to get up off of this blue green, man. It's done. It's over with.
Man.
I need you to get back to your roots. Get back in your bag, dude. Let's get some
He used
Ruby
to be the
Amethyst.
red purple guy.
What happened to
exactly.
Ruby Am, man?
I
Go back.
guy,
Come
I play
home,
Tremaine.
dude.
I shift Tremaine.
Go
I bounce
home,
them,
man.
Play
What?
rabbit. Bounce.
Give me some
prep.
Fox Rabbit.
Dude.
Go home, man. Your
The
children
money
miss you,
changed him.
bro.
Look at this. This is crazy.
I mean, the
Ah,
thing about
Claire
that deck is
Nelson,
this
you're
is too
welcome.
fair, right? Like we're playing super unfair decks, and then it's like let me try to bounce my rabbit, you know. So I think unless I don't honestly, I mean at this point, like I think those type of vengeance have basically been power crept by just everything else, right? Just being able to go super aggressive or like discard your whole hand or like wipe your whole board for free. I think these type of things are just way better than what you could be doing with bouncing rabbit. So
yeah.
I think unless something really, really drastically changes, I think those cards will not see a lot of play.
You're talking a pistol versus a tactical nuke. I hear you, man. It's just tough.
Actually,
it's tough.
He used to be an ethical player. Now he's a foul baiting merchant. Like, what is this nonsense?
You guys just
man?
straight up
Slayer
sent.
Pro,
You guys know you sent 3 Sapphire decks all with Tamatoa Popsicle. Is that a trend there? Are we thinking Tamatoa Popsicle?
Sure.
Is that just where we're at in Infinity? Is that the best stuff to be doing?
Tamatoa is literally him. In Sapphire, I think Tamatoa is literally the best thing you could be doing, right? Like Popsicle being printed, I remember a lot of people were calling for bans for Popsicle because of how good it was to get picked up by Tamatoa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to like have a huge body and you can draw like 2 cards, multiple cards, it's just really, really strong. So I think until further notice, Sapphire is like the Tamatoa color, and like that's what you want to be doing.
If you're not Tamatoa Popsicle, you're literally trolling. Is that the thought?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
If you're playing a Sapphire deck, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Like specifically a ramp one. I guess some people are playing like Kiwi or whatever, but those decks don't count, right? Obviously, we're talking about ramp into good stuff deck. Tamatoa is like where you want to end up for sure.
There have even been versions of Kiwi in the past that played Tamatoa alongside the Fortisphere Popsicle. Like it's just like the best card draw engine in blue, and in Sapphire when you're ramping, you like have to go down a card to ink an extra time early in the game. So having access to this card drop package is really strong. He's like basically like a super Mouseorc. Like Mouseorc comes in, 3 costs, draws a card. Tamatoa is like a double Mouseorc. He like draws twice as many cards, has twice as many stats, and he's just sometimes pretty threatening with this. When you quest put an item into playability, like we haven't shown any of the item decks yet, but people are definitely playing these Maurice's Workshop decks either in Ruby Sapphire or Emerald Sapphire, and they're definitely strong as well. So, but even without a ton of items, with just Popsicles, he's still like the best card advantage card you can play on your curve.
Dang, dude. So if you don't have Tamatoas, you heard it here first. If you're tuned in to the live streamer, maybe you watch this on YouTube. Go out there and dust those Tamatoas off. Get them out of that binder. Maybe get onto your local game store, your TCG player. Maybe bust out that trade binder, see if you can find these Tamatoas because apparently they're back. And
yeah, that's a great point. It was a card that in core was like $60 or whatever when it first released, and I checked last week and it was like $7 or something. So if you want a card that's like a big sleeper in the Infinity market right now, definitely pick up some Tamatoas if you're going to want to play Sapphire decks.
Yeah, I think I might do that myself. I
have definitely underpriced, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe even the Enchanteds. How much? I saw the Enchanteds like 150. Honestly, it might be a pickup for me personally. I might get a playset of those. Like, I know some people don't like it, but I think those are hot. You know what I'm saying?
It's one of the best looking enchantments. But last week's episode, we encouraged people not to go enchanted. We're going low rarity. Are you still going to be a high rarity guy? You can't be doing both. You weren't here last
do you have a couple of those?
I have just one.
We can make a deal, bro.
I will never. I will never move it, dude. I'm gonna keep it. I got one.
Hey, I got an eye to eye for you, bro.
You got an eye to eye?
Trade up trade, 1 for 1.
We might talk.
I don't know about that one, but
We might talk.
we'll
I think
shop after this.
I'm mogging, dude. Come on, man. Let's talk turkey.
Yeah.
We can talk. That
talk
I might
We'll
listen
take
to
that offline. You know what I'm saying? We'll circle back to it.
Yeah, I might listen. You know me, I love trading. I might listen to that trade, but yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know. So, but Ed, we did talk about it last week. Are you going to shift? Are you become a min rarity guy? I know you're a high rarity guy originally.
Back in my day, yeah, I had the 4 enchanted Mauis, 4 enchanted Sisus. Man, those are the times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I do have basically like all those kind of like max rarity like shark decks like from set 8, right? I have a max rarity like red purple deck. I mean, all the new cards I haven't really been investing in because I think it's kind of hard to tell because I don't really know what I want to play, right? Like look at all the random decks that just randomly come up, right? Like green, blue. You know, that deck is actually kind of expensive to max rarity. There's like your Welcome Enchanted, Clarabelle Enchanted. It's like actually quite crazy. Actually.
Cindy Enchanted.
Cindy Enchanted, literally everything, right? So I don't know if I'm down to like invest in like all these random things. But at the time, I think I got a lot of good use out of like the red purple, right? Like I think I literally used it for like 7, 8 sets. And like it's always been good. So I think for me, that was like a kind of like a fun investment. But right now the meta shifts so quickly. It's like kind of hard for me to do that.
The meta shifts so quickly. He's been playing blue-green for literally 8 months or whatever. It has not changed his deck. It was completely. Everybody's like, it's gonna be unplayable in set 11. Doesn't matter. He brought it to every single set 11 tournament anyways. Like, actually, just the meta shifts, but play same deck for 8 months. I don't buy it.
Wait, you know what I haven't seen? Anybody play a max rarity dog deck. You know that deck could also be like max rarity, like very expensive.
I think Diego
like Lady
has,
Tramp.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Diego loves his.
Let's see what else. Lady Tramp and the foil Tramp, the smaller one, the 3-cost one, or excuse me, the 2-cost one. That one got up to like $20 for the foil version of that card.
Yeah, but it just has an enchanted version anyways. So
it does. That's right. That's right. That's right.
$20 one.
My bad. Yeah, that's right. What else? How many other enchantments does it have in there?
You're asking the wrong guy. I don't know anything about the enchanteds, but I'm sure like cards like I know randomly in blue-green, like the 7-cost Basil, like cold foil was also randomly like $20 or something. So just like the most random cards that you wouldn't really think of, sometimes are just for some reason are impossible to max rarity.
I guess Mulan has an enchanted, right? Like in the Snowfort deck.
Oh yeah,
Mulan has one.
Has one.
And then Rapunzel has the DLC foil.
Ooh!
You know, that's pretty expensive.
Never getting that. That don't count.
For sure.
Bro, you know who used to play that? Dale. I think he was the only person I've ever seen play the enchanted DLC promo Rapunzel foil.
4 foils.
It's certainly a flex, yeah. Actually, just a $12,000 deck for fun.
For no reason. Somebody's gonna mug you for that. I don't know.
There's Ursula Deceiver that I know she has like some fancy version.
Yeah, the D23 promo, yeah.
And
it's like a decent amount.
How much is that one?
The Grandmother Willow has the epic,
like
which
$50.
I think is like for some reason expensive. The random epic Willow. So there's a bunch of things. Yeah.
You gotta get.
It can look shiny for sure.
But after last week, I think I'm just gonna be a common king, dude. I'm gonna keep it low profile. Same. Take no chances, make no mistakes, and we're gonna get active. We're gonna do it like that. I think that's the plan, at least for me, as I gotta start getting into the Infinity Dojo because I'm trying to come over to DLC in Dortmund and play and join you guys into the field, and maybe you guys can coach me up, train me up, and I can get my own golden Mickey and show you guys how it's really, really done. Here in the Infinity format. So we're going to get active. But in the meantime, in between time, we got to start somewhere. And today, the Wilds Unknown has been released. It is the new set number 12 of Disney Lorcana has now found its way into the realm. And the pre-release events are happening today. I will be going to a pre-release event. Thiago? Ed, are you guys pre-releasing?
No, never.
Yeah, we're going to Josie's house.
I'm gonna ask this question again, okay? And I need you to be an ambassador for this great game, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And I need you to retool that answer, and I need you to not have so much glee, and I need you to be reluctant and say that you can't make it, okay? Run it back. Hey guys, so Wilds Unknown is dropping today. We got the pre-release events are happening May 8th all over the world. Make sure you guys go to your local game store and get out there and get active with it. All right, Thiago, Ed, you guys going to pre-release events today? We'll start with you, Thiago.
I am unfortunately unable to make it. I'm absolutely heartbroken that I'm not able to make it out. I love going out to these sealed events, meeting with the community, and really getting excited about the new cards. I think it's really a great pathway for everybody to kind of rebuild their excitement for the game. something I love is never looking at any of the reveals or thinking about any of the cards and what their competitive decks could look like using them. Instead, I like going to my pre-release and then opening the packs for the very first time and really reading every single card and getting excited about them and thinking of all the possibilities. So this time I'm really heartbroken to announce I will not be going to a pre-release event, but I'm hoping that in the future my circumstances will not be so unfortunate, and I will be able to really take part in such a great community event that we are so thankful. I know that now we have the kits for the sealed, so that's going to make them even more exciting. I wish I was able to take part, but yeah, again, really, really disheartened. But I will try to live vicariously through all of my friends who are going to be attending.
Right on, right on. That was a much better answer.
Bro, what is Bro yapping about? That's crazy.
That's a much better answer. Much better answer.
Shout out to...
Dude, I'll be a politician. If I weren't playing Lorcana, politician for sure.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
What about Ed? Are you going to Josie's house? Are you guys going to play?
Yeah,
you got the pre-release?
Yeah, she got some pre-release kits. It's going to be a fun time.
You guys got to stop saying kits because it made me say kits. It's pre-release box, okay?
Box.
Oh, my bad. Pre-release box. Wait, really? It's not kit?
It's not kit.
Run it back. Take 3.
Take 3. Pre-release box, dude. It's a box.
We're
it's not a kit.
We're going to do some pre-release boxes at Josie's house.
Are you gonna get a bunch of... What are the iconics for the sets? Like Buzz Lightyear and Merida or something like that?
Merida, yeah.
Merida and Buzz Lightyear. That's right.
I mean, me personally, I think they're okay, I guess. Honestly, I wish the iconics would be more playable. Like, I think
they were last set, right? Like Hades and Ariel.
Yeah, Hades and Ariel we're in.
People aren't running around with their Hades iconics. I feel like...
Me personally, if I had them, I would play them.
Yeah. Run against Daniel Q, I start shuffling his deck, and then I hand it to him. During the game, he starts casting 4 Hadeses. I was like, bro, I'm so sorry I shuffled your deck during the cutting. He doesn't say a word. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Actually gonna get sued or something.
Double sleeve shirt. No, he's single sleeve.
He's single sleeve gamer. Actually, single sleeve gamer. There it is. Boom.
Aren't you gonna have the what's it called? UQC.
I'm trying to. I was gonna talk about that. I want to get that going. I want to do the Ultimate Questing Championship. I want you guys to come and play. I need to figure out a way to get some judges and some staff and do an online core constructed tournament. Winner gets this iconic Hades. Okay, that's what I want to do. But I want to have like a LCCC kind of vibe. I mean, I got to find a way to get that whole thing set up, but it's gonna happen.
What happened in the last LCCC? Who took it down? What was the finals?
It was. Wait, hold up. Wait, hold up. Was it Ed? Did you win? No, was it Zan?
Bro, Zan.
It was Ed.
No,
it was Zan. Dude,
it was Zan, bro.
It was Zan.
Was it Zan? I can't.
It was Zan. That's right. You were there. You were right. You were there in the finals.
I took down Zan, man.
You took down Zan.
You won. Let him win everything. No, I didn't win, man. I got my ass. I got my butt kicked by Ed in the finals, man.
That's right. That's what it was, dude. I totally
actually just
mind dumped the whole thing.
I'm sitting here fishing for compliments, and then
let's run that back. Let's do it. Let's do another edit. Editor, let's run that whole thing back. So we're talking. Let's take it back to LCCC. All right, here we go.
All right. Dude, the LCCC was so fun. Yeah, I don't even remember what happened though. Can you refresh me?
Oh, dude, you guys were both in the finals, and you lost to Ed, man.
Oh, well. Oh.
Wait, is that not? That's not good. You guys played very.
Try it again.
All right, yeah. LCC, man. I can't wait till it comes back. We're not going to get another one this set. I'm trying to start the UQC. Okay, the Ultimate Questing Championship. It's a mouthful to say, but last LCC I thought went really well. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think you guys might have played in the finals.
Oh, yeah, we did. Wait, we did.
Yeah. And it was a good match. I think it was a very tight back and forth and a nice gentlemanly challenge to each other. You guys push each other to the absolute brink of your capability. You guys were playing so tight and so perfectly. And then there had to be a bend but don't break moment. And Ed narrowly crossed the finish line before you did to hoist the title as LCCC champion.
Yeah, this guy 7 kept every single game. I actually can't, man. Literally a 7 keep. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Me personally? Yeah.
GG?
All good.
GG?
Try again next time. In the EUQC qualifier.
We're doing it. We're doing it. In the questing Championship. What did I say? Ultimate
Wait,
Questing Championship. UQC. That's hard. We can't be UQC.
The acronym is not acronyming, man.
That feels real bad.
Like it's so.
It needs to be the UNC, bro.
The UN, the UNC, dude. Ultimate Nesting Championship.
There has to be a better N word, right?
Hey, yo! Whoa!
Yo.
This episode is
gonna get real. Thanks for joining the Procast. Here are the giveaways for this week. Probably.
Yeah. Please do it. Take it, dude.
Yeah,
canceled.
Yeah. All right. What is
I edit that out.
Okay. What are we gonna? What? Let me ask what we're giving away. I don't even know. This is not going well. Surely.
No, we're good. We're back. We're so back. We're so back.
Edit everything, bro.
Don't edit anything out. Just send this whole thing.
I'm out of here.
All right. Anyways, so. JDZ, what has your experience been like at the pre-releases, and what are you looking forward to most this weekend if you're playing one?
I'm going to a pre-release. I'm super excited. I'm actually going to one today. When I leave this, I'm actually going to go to that event. I'm going to set up all these cameras, and I'm going to do a stream there. So I'm actually super excited for that. So that should be happening on my Twitch later on this afternoon. I just want to get out there and get my game on, get my trades in, meet the community, and hang out with people. That's kind of what I like to do anyway. So I'll be at my pre-release event. I can't wait to get the sealed and play some games, get some troves. I also have 2 cases and 2 troves. I'm going to do a big box opening. Maybe I might save that for Monday, or maybe I might do it on Saturday. On stream, yeah. I like to stream the box openings, do some giveaways and stuff. So it's going to be lit. We're getting active. Yeah. We're getting busy. We're going to do it.
Lit. I'm not opening anything. I will maybe buy singles, but probably not. I don't even know what cards from the set I want.
That's crazy.
I guess. Like the last set, I literally wanted 8 commons, and then Ed and my other friend each gave me a set of 8 commons, and I just have 2 sets of Willows and Nanis, and I did not buy a single card from the new set. Or I guess at my set champs, I started scouring through the bulk bin, but then I realized I didn't really want anything, so yeah.
You're on a pro team, man. You gotta lock in, dude. You can't be out here scavenging for remnants, dude. Get out there.
I like me. I'm going through the bulk bin, man.
My man's out here.
Actually, I took 4 snow forts from the bulk bin. I have to order full Mulan.
Hey, talk to your cousin, man. He's out here scavenging through the remnants, dude. He's pretty, have some decorum,
the
dude.
The recent sets actually hasn't had a lot of like really expensive cards that we needed, and I think that could be a good or a bad thing, right? Like back then, everyone had to get like 4 Dumbos and like 4 Hades, 4 Demona. But now it's like, you just need your Nani, Grandma Willow, Snowfort, Mulan, and just call it a day, right? So maybe that's a good thing, especially for like, the budget conscious players. I've also noticed that like if you look at the Infinity decks, actually so many of the cards are extremely like inexpensive right now, right? You can build like a whole like red purple deck for like $20, or like the Shark deck, even that deck is like relatively inexpensive because, Shark used to be really expensive, right? $50-$60, but now it's only like, sub 20. So I think right now it's kind of a good time to get in just because like building decks is relatively inexpensive and you don't require like a lot of like legendaries, and even the legendaries are not that expensive. So I think right now it's kind of in a good spot because you don't have to buy a bunch of stuff and, you can kind of just like play with what you have over time.
Facts.
Yeah, he literally sent me the Dreamborn link of a red purple deck he was working on, and then I looked, and the price tag said $24.47. I was like, is this like a budget version or whatever to like post on something? But no, it's just like the actual deck was just less than $25, which is pretty crazy considering like where the game has been in the past. I mean, even right now in core, if you want to play some of these purple decks, it's like $540 or whatever to build purple steel or purple or whatever. And so I'm glad at least people have the option of not having to play Hades and Demona. I think the purple decks right now are really the super expensive ones because of all the cards that Ed listed, but the other decks are all pretty affordable. And if you're playing Infinity like right now, I don't know how it's going to end up looking like after the DLCs or whatever, if a lot of these prices are going to spike because the cards aren't like in print and people aren't opening packs of them or whatever. But if you're trying to get Infinity decks right now, they're super inexpensive. So
agreed.
Definitely something to think about if you like had played back then and then you have like most of the staples. If you want to like fill out your collection with the rest, you can do so for not too much money.
Right on, man. I agree. I think the game is it's very accessible right now. I think it's the perfect time to play. We saw that I believe there's going to be a huge influx of players coming in. I was able to see some of the pre-release of activities taking place at Disney Springs. Everyone going after that buzz mat, and they was stacked. I mean, the line was completely wrapped all the way around the whole park trying to get in and get that mat from Disney Springs today. So that's just an indicator. Maybe there were some scalpers there or some secondhand sellers or what kind of stuff, but it did seem there were a lot of Disney people that were in line specifically to get this mat, and also the Lorcana products that were there. So I can tell you right now that I think the game's in a spot where it's about to explode in popularity. So get in while you can if you are out there. But as we're beginning to close the show, gentlemen, Thiago, Ed, do you guys want to lead the giveaway if we do have that information? If not, we'll save it for the next time as we'll start to shut this thing down and wind it up for episode number 13 of the Procast.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what specifically we're giving away this week, but we are going to pick 2 winners for the giveaway, and then we will chat to you guys through Discord to get that sorted. But we are going to pick 2 winners. So for that, we're going to ask some questions to you guys, and then you guys can join us in the chat here live on Metafy. If you guys want to subscribe to the WCC Metafy page, you can catch us live where we do giveaways, and you can also talk in chat and ask questions. So as we're making the giveaway, you guys can also put in some questions right now, do like a mini Q&A as we're answering those questions. But for the first giveaway question, I'm going to throw it to JDZ for him to make that one for you guys.
All right, here is one. All right, so what I have here is going to be some flavor text that we're going to be reading from a character. All right, this character is from Wilds Unknown, the Wilds Unknown, the new set that's coming out. If you get this right, then you're going to be the first person that gets this right is going to be my selected winner of the giveaway. All right, I'm going to read the flavor text. You just have to give me your answer. It says, when there's a hit of cheddar in the air, something inside me snaps. When there's a hint of cheddar in the air, I don't want to do the accent because that would definitely be a dead giveaway. When there's a hint of cheddar in the air, something inside me snaps.
Dude, I don't know what this card is, but I'm like, from what you said, my guess would be a card that Ed and I might have played in our deck this week. I don't know if this is the right card, but we might have tried this card literally this week. And so if once somebody gets it, I'll say what I think that my guess is, and we'll see if I would have. We
have a little bit of a delay before they can hear the question, so it might take a little bit of time.
We had the lag thing earlier, so they're a minute or 2 delayed. So yeah, they're not gonna get it quite yet. But until then, if you guys want to drop some questions for Q&A, we can do that as well. But so the card that I think this is, I'll just say it, and then I'm pretty sure they'll have put it in before. But I think this card is Monorary Jack. Is it Monorary Jack?
It is. You are correct. And Dueler did get it right. You are correct, but I think his name is Monterey Jack.
I don't know how to say cheese.
Monterey
bro.
Jack,
What do
like
you
the
think
cheese,
I'm
bro.
right,
The
bro?
cheese.
It's cheese. Monterey cheese. My man, the cheese fiend.
What did I say? Monterey? Some shit.
Monterey.
Monterey.
It does come. I can see Monterey. I can see Monterey. I can see Monterey.
Monterey Jack. Dude, we were playing this card.
Monterey Jack.
Horrendous card. Actually horrible. We're like,
It's bad?
Oh, we want to play all of these
4s and get a quest in?
We're trying to like dodge, let the Storm Rage on, so we're playing all these 0-4s and whatever, and then we put Monterey Jack. Horrendous card.
He's not it. The 0-3 ain't getting it done.
It's just uninkable. He's uninkable. That's the problem. We're playing this card. We were playing Percy. We were playing. This deck was a mess, but it was mid key cooking. I don't know.
Low key, high key cooking, just mid key cooking.
Low key, high key.
Low key, high key, mid key
They go
cooking.
Monterey Jack into Raja.
That's some good cook. See, this is stuff I need from you guys.
Man, this is the stuff we need, bro.
This is stuff we need.
Into Percy, that was lit.
These are the dishes I need. All this dubious food you guys are leaving around the cutting room floor. I think that that's the stuff that we need. But shout out to Dueler who came through and knocked that out super fast. We have a delay. All right,
Dueler king.
No one outmatches Dueler in the giveaway.
Actually, I'm gonna see Dueler this weekend. I think actually.
Oh yeah.
Really?
He'll be at the Josie spot for sure.
That's what's up.
Actual party.
Yeah.
I love Josie's spot. I had a good time. I'm glad I went there that last time.
Yeah.
After
it's always lit time.
It was good.
After Taiwan, that was a good time.
Yeah. That was lit. All right. Who's giving the next one?
Ed, you got a question for,
All right, next one.
for the lovely folks at home?
12, the Leviathan. So, what are the traits of the Leviathan?
What are the traits of the set 12 Leviathan?
The traits.
That's a good one. I have no idea.
Like his
Ed
stats?
has been his character
you know, like the
types.
words underneath where it's like storyboard.
Oh, yeah. Good question. Yeah. Good answer. Good answer.
The Leviathan.
These are crazy. I had no idea. I just looked it up right now. I
call
never
him
would
Levi.
have guessed these ever. Levi.
I call him Levi.
This card, again, horrible. But yeah, we've been trying.
This card's horrible too, man. I think this card's lit, dude. Leviathan Kita, dude.
We're cooking.
Ed was playing
Leviathan.
Leviathan Kita, dude, is my love language, bro. That's all I want to do is play Kita and Leviathan, bro. Look at this card, man. How gnarly is this card? Are you kidding me? This is like
stay tuned next week where we actually discuss the deck.
Right on.
Yeah. We're definitely not doing that.
Maybe
please, man.
Anyway.
Help me make a core constructed Leviathan Kita deck, please, dude. I'm literally begging, bro.
Is it good in core? Honestly, are you able to put enough cards in your discard?
Yeah, man.
The reason why it's good is because of Popsicle specifically, but without Popsicle, I think it's like
unplayable.
Kind of a hard ask. It's a hard ask. It's not unplayable, but it's like a hard ask.
Oh, because
you actually have to rely on
2 cards.
You have to rely on like actually doing on like 12.
Let's play some songs, man. Let's figure it out, man. Let's play some songs. We got Kita. We're ramping ourselves by 5 anyway. It doesn't matter. Come on, lock in, dude.
You're literally 12 ink, 2 1-cost actions, and then Leviathan specifically, which is not that egregious. I mean, you can probably build it up like that, but it's much harder without popsicles.
We got some answers coming in. We got answers coming in.
There's drama. So we have one answer. The first answer says Monster Robot. And the second answer says Dreamborn Monster Robot.
All right, it has to be Dreamborn Monster Robot.
It's got to be Dreamborn Monster Robot.
All 3. Yeah.
It's got to be all 3. It's got to be Dreamborn Monster Robot. Unfortunate.
Without looking at the chat who it is, you just got to go with that. Sure.
Right. I think that has to be like one of those things.
Josie. Wait, it's actually nepotism.
Actually, Josie. Actually, recant.
Bro.
Actually, we cannot give it to Josie. Actually, recant. Stonks.
Pick it up.
All right, I'm kidding.
Nepotism winner.
W Josie in the building. W Josie. Actual nepotism, and they're Dreamborn Monster Robot. It's kind of like those unfortunate I used to watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy sometimes, and they get it wrong.
We used to turn that on every night. Back in mine and JD these days, like back in our day.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, Thiago. You're hurting my feelings. I want you to know that because I'm old. Okay.
No, I was there with you. I used to watch that every night.
High key, mid key. I straight up used to watch Wheel of Fortune like every day.
Really?
I'm not even kidding. Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy. They just come on back to back. I just watch them every single day. And at the end, or like they spin the wheel, they solve the puzzle, and the dude will like, "I'm going to a real estate party," like he pronounced it wrong or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ooh, sorry, you didn't get it right." And the next guy be like, "I'm going to a real estate party." Oh, you win. And then
it's actually just accent. No, it is actually. That's so crazy.
So,
all the time.
You're like not American or something, and then you have a little bit of an accent.
You're cooked.
But that's why I said it before saying who was the person that said each one, so you can make your decision before I say the names.
I'm definitely not looking. Promise. My screen is just.
I just opened it up now. I see JMBN is going to be the winner. I said we got to pull it. Thoughts on pulling it from Josie? Thoughts? No, we're like Josie. Josie's got to eat.
I send it to her, bro.
We're locked in.
W Josie.
We're locked in.
Yeah, W Josie or something like that. All right. I think that's all for today. So thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe and all the YouTube things. Leave a comment on what your favorite card from the new set is, and if you guys want to join us on the live stream, check out the WCC Metafy. It'll be linked in the description. I will be heading off to San Diego next week, the week after, to play in the Enchanted Citrus Clash. I believe JDZ will be casting.
That's right.
And Ed will be attending, because if he doesn't, I'll peer pressure him to make sure he goes. So we'll all be there. But yeah, Ed, what about you? What do you got going on?
Yeah, same schedule as you probably.
Yep, I will be
San Diego. All the DLCs.
And
then I guess after that, Continentals.
Yeah, I made my schedule. 15 of the next 18 weeks I'm traveling. So me personally, a little bit cooked, but guy like Ed doesn't matter. He's already qualified to Worlds. He just sits there.
I'm just vibrating, bro.
Literally just vibing. Get the tournament, starts touristing around. He's like, "You guys want to see sites?" I'm like, "Bro, we gotta lock in."
I gotta win. He's like, I'm good. Yeah. But I also will be at the Enchanted Citrus Clash, as well as I'll be at Ink next week, Enchanted Citrus Clash after that, ETB after that, and then I'm going to there will be a CCQ in Lambeau Field, the World Class Cards CCQ. We haven't talked about that too much, but I will also be there as well, and I'll be on the Wheels of Steel along with J-Bomb and Katie from the Lore Keepers Inn. We'll be doing the broadcast for that tournament. Also, the Enchanted Evening, I believe tickets for that event are on sale. I believe if you're here, you're probably going to be there. So come on through. Links in the description to get your tickets if you haven't got them already. Also, sign up for the CCQs are open, and we'll see you guys all getting active in that event. There's so much Lorcana happening in the next few weeks, so make sure you guys are tuned in and showing up to where you can go and getting the best information from the pros here at the World Class Cards Procast. Well, gentlemen, this was a great show. I had a lot of fun. We laughed, we cried, we got it done. But until next week, we'll be back at it again. Until then, peace.